This first phrase is very much like what we've been doing. It's just a primary phrase. Good practice, though. It's the 8 A and B. Letting the pedal off. Back to 6 with the D lever. And sliding straight back to 8. And adding the pedal. Now this thing obviously has two versions to it, so let's practice both. This is the little primary phrase number 1, but it has a different footwork, so you want to practice both ways. So let's practice it once just like we did it, and then let's practice doing the 6 with the A pedal instead of the 8 with no pedals. So it's 8 with the pedals down, maybe squeezing them in, and then back to 6 with the A pedal, and then 6 with the D lever, then back to 6 with the A pedal, back to 8, A and B. So we've got two good versions there. They sound alike, that's true, but the harmony changes and it certainly is better. Primary phrase number 2 there is 8 A and B. Letting the pedals off, back to 6 with the D lever, and then we're going to add that scale note that's way down there on the first fret. It's like a B flat, 1 with the A and B, and let them off. One more time, back up to 8 A and B, let them off, 6 with the D lever, slide maybe down to 1 A and B, and then the pedals off. Not a bad little trick. It uses a different part of the scale, that's all, but these are all going to be great little fills sooner or later. Number 3, this starts down on 1 with the first fret, no pedals, and add the A and B pedal. Now up to 6 with the D lever, slide to 8 with no pedals, and then squeeze them in. One more time, listen to that. 1 with no pedals, add the pedals. Up to 6D, slide to 8 with no pedals, and in. Now really, that's just the same one we just did backwards, isn't it? But I just want to make sure you get the same idea. So 2 and 3 can be played either way. We're going 8 A and B, letting them off. 6D, 1 A and B, and then just reverse it. No pedals, add the pedals. Up to 6D, up to 8 with no pedals, or 6A, then 8 A and B. Primary phrase number 4 is really the same idea. We're just using the scale from 13 down to 8. This one starts on 13 with no pedals. Sliding down to 8 with the pedals, up to 11 with the D lever, up to 13 A and B, and let them off. Oh, that's kind of a nice one. 13 and a slide down to 8 A and B. Up to 11 with the D lever, A and B on 13, and let them off. Kind of a quick motion here. Now let's put all 4 of these in the rhythm track. Just cue up your F rhythm track there where you can practice all 4 of them. See if you can recall how they go. Here's number 1. Or 6A in the middle. Got to get those where we can play them. And maybe with the A pedal. Number 2. Again, number 2. Number 3 is backwards. Again. It's all physical, really. And number 3. Number 4. Tricky. See if you can get 1, 2, 3, and 4, all right in a row. Here's number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. So that whole idea really teaches you several different things. Coordination, using the pedals and the D lever in and out. It teaches you the scale. It teaches you all the right notes we want to play for intros and fills in F. Take your time now. Learn these primary phrases because they're going to teach you the physical part as much as the musical. And you're going to learn what the notes sound like, and that's the most important thing. Let's use primary phrase number 1 as all the fills in the song, Don't You Ever Get Tired of Hurting Me. Get your little chord chart out there and notice what's happening. Let's assume that we're going to play the intro like we always do. But here we are. Ernie Rowell is coming in, he's singing. And we're going to play the chords, obviously. We're going to play 8 with the pedals, maybe. And maybe back to 6 with the D lever. And that's all we get to play. But here comes that B flat fill. Now, the pocket for B flat is 13 with the pedals, back to 11 with the D lever, isn't it? So our fill, our primary phrase was 13 with the pedals, back to 11D, up to 13 with no pedal, and the pedal. So that'll be the fill right there. But we want to end on a C. Look at the second line of the verse. So there is a C right there, 13 with the D lever. And this is the chord. Remember, we can't play anything but that for 4 beats. And then up to 15 with the pedals. And here comes our fill in F. It's the end of the second line. So quickly, the pocket is 8 with the pedals, back to 6D, back to 8, and the pedals. Now, let's not forget here that we do have choices. We don't have to play that lick exactly that way. We could do it 8 with no pedal, or we could go 8 with the pedal, back to 6A, can't we? Now the D lever, back to 6A, and 8A and B. So primary phrase number 1 can be played with that optional intermediary note in there. Now we're going to the third line, the fill on the end of the line. It's a B flat. So again, our pocket is up to 13 with the pedal, 11D, back to 13, no pedals. And again, it's just like the first 2 lines. Let's play a C. But you have choices. You can play 13 with the D lever or 15 with the pedals. And neither one of them has to be first. It's up to you what you want to play there. And sure enough, the last line, the last fill is an F. So again, our pocket is 8A and B, back to 6D. And that's the whole process, except we would like to end our fills on the chord we're going to. So that last fill there, the 4th line, going into the chorus, might be, and the D lever, and the pedals. Now, B flat is coming, so let's go right straight to 11 with the D lever. It's only 1 measure, so it's going to be quick, 4 beats. And then there's a C, so let's just go right on to 13 with the D lever. And here's that F fill. Well, our pocket is 8A and B, and the D lever, back to the pedal. Here comes that B flat, the second line of the chorus. Again, shoot, let's go on up to 11D, but we've got 2 measures, so let's change the chord and go on to 13A and B. And this is a strange line. It goes from the B flat there down to a G. So let's walk it down. 13A and B, 12A and B, 11A and B, 10 with a pedal, because that's a G. Here comes our C fill on the end. We had an extra bar there, an extra measure. So our pocket for C is 15A and B, 13 with the D lever, back to the pedals on 15, and quickly go to the next chord. The 3rd line is an F, so go back to 13. And maybe down to 8A and B. Here comes that B flat fill. We're back to the old home week. Maybe 13A and B, 11D, or any improvisation you want to with the pedals there on 13. And then go to a C, maybe go to 15A and B. Back to 13 with the D lever. And the last fill is 8A and B. Back to 6 with a D. And back to 8A and B. Now, here we go. Little demonstration. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. B flat fill. And to a C chord.
You're happy
Again.
when I'm out.
Here comes the F pocket. Still F.
You don't love me,
Maybe up to 13.
but you won't
B
let
flat pocket. C chord. Another C chord. Here comes the F pocket. B flat. Now a C.
I look back
And the F pocket fill. B flat. G. The C pocket. And F. Another F. The B flat pocket. C. Another C. And the F pocket. Turn around. A little improvisation on number 1. B flat pocket. C. C. F pocket. F. B flat pocket. C. Another C. The F pocket. B flat. And a C. F pocket. B flat. Walk down to G. And the C pocket. F. B flat pocket. C. And C. F pocket. C. And the F pocket. Well, that's a lot of fun, and I only know one lick. Let's take all 4 of the primary phrases, really number 2, number 3, and number 4, and let's learn how to put them in this song and make the transposing of these phrases work for us. Remember, phrase number 3, let's say, or number 2. Let's take number 2. Went from 8 with the pedal, back to 6 with the D lever, then down to 1A and B, and let the pedals off. So that's our phrase, but that's an F as we look at it. somewhere in this song, we're going to have to play a B flat or a 4 chord. So the B flat starts on 13 with the pedals. So this is primary phrase number 2, transposed to B flat. You want to learn how this looks because it's a pattern. 13 with the pedal, let them off. 11 with the D lever, down to 6 with the A and B pedal, and the pedals off. So that's something you want to learn to move around. It's exactly what we had as it was written as F, but now it's going to be B flat. 13 A and B, 11 D, 6 A, and the pedals off. Well, primary phrase number 3 was exactly the same thing, but backward, wasn't it? So we can say the B flat fill could be 6 with no pedals because that's B flat. Start with, add the A pedal, up to 11 with the D lever, to 13 with no pedal, to the pedal. So really that's a whole new pattern. If you haven't looked at B flat that way, that's what we want to do. That'll be the 4 chord, or every time it's a B flat, we could play that fill. Or backwards. And somewhere in the song, we've got a C chord fill, or the 5. It's going to be the same as we just did, but now it's going to be as a C, so we're going to move everything up 2 frets. And that's the purpose of this exercise. Learn to see that you don't memorize the frets, you learn the pattern. So the C chord fill, anytime we see it at the end of the line, could be 15 with the pedal, back to 13 with the D lever, down to 8 with the pedals, and the pedals off. So the C chord would be, or backwards, as primary phrase number 3 taught us, 8 with no pedals, add them. Then we go all the way up to 13 with the D lever, to 15 with no pedals, and the pedals. So we're taking the same old primary phrase number 2, and we've turned it around backwards, and we've put it in B flat, and we've put it in C. That's going to be tricky. You need to take a little time to learn to do it. And the really good one is primary phrase number 4. Once again, remember it went 13 with no pedals, all the way down 5 frets to 8A and B, then up 3 frets to 11 with the D lever, then up to 13 with the A and B pedals. Now we got to learn to transpose that. Once again, in F it went. Well, we want to get the same sound in B flat and the same sound in C, because if that's a good lick in F, and if it's a pattern in F, and that's all it is, then it has to go to B flat when we want to use it as a fill. Now, B flat, if we think of it like F, B flat is 5 frets above there, so we could go way up high, but I don't want to. That's too high. You call dogs and you break glass up there. It'll make you ugly. So B flat can be played off of the 6th fret, and we can go 5 frets down to 1A and B. So the 4 chord, or the B flat fill, if it looked like primary phrase number 4, I'm sorry, could be 6 with no pedals, down to 1A and B. Now we come 3 frets up to 4 with the D lever, to 6 with the pedals, and 6 with no pedals. Ah, there's B flat. It'll look like that. 6, 1A and B, 4D, 6A and B, and let them off. Now, if that's B flat, C is 2 frets above it. So we're going to play the same pattern, only 2 frets up. We'll start on 8 with no pedal, down to 3A and B, to 6 with the D lever, on up to 8A and B, and let them off. So B flat was 6 down to 1. Well, C will be 8 down to 3. So what we want to do here is learn to play and think professionally. We don't have to know a lot of licks as long as we know how to transpose what we know. So we want to take primary phrase number 1, or number 2, or number 3, or number 4, and learn what they look like in F. That's true, but how can we play them all in B flat? You may have to stop right here and think about this, because you may not know how to play the number 1 in B flat. or number 2 in B flat, or number 3, or number 4. Now this is not easy, but then this is not a beginner's course. This is where you have to stop and think, and you have to know what you're doing. That's why I said we want to learn to play these phrases in and out and learn the pattern of frets and pedals, and the D lever, and everything has to become an automatic reflex, because you're going to be busy trying to think, where am I going to put this phrase? And that's what gets most guys. They fall apart here. You have to be thinking ahead, thinking, am I going to be playing in B flat? Where's the pocket? It's 13A and B to the D lever. But also B flat's on 6 with no pedals and the pedals in. And you have to be able to take these phrases and move them around. So we've called these things primary phrases. But truly, they're not primary in any way. They're just good music, and it makes you think. Here we go. Let me play along in the tune, and we'll mix these phrases up. These are the 4 primary phrases. Flat.
All the time.
That was number 4.
You're happy when I'm out of my mind.
Number 4 again.
You don't love me, but you won't let
Number 2.
me.
Number 3.
You must think I look back
Number 1.
with a smile. For you haven't let me wear one in such a long, long while.
Flat. Mixing them all up here. Turn around. Different one. Number 2. Maybe backwards. Up. It's all just 4 legs. Primary phrases. Again. Number 1.
Still I keep running back. Why must this be? Don't you ever get tired of hurting me? Don't you ever
licks. My goodness, look at what you can do with 4 licks. There's no way we can go much farther here without talking about that nasty old word, scales. And really, that's what you've been learning all this time with scales. We used it as primary phrases. We used it as different little licks. We need to remember several things here now. We've been playing the 5th and the 8th string, and through these licks, you've been learning what we call the F scale. Well, they're just positions. They can be a pattern. They don't have to have names like A, B, C, D, or Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. It's all just a matter of learning the pattern, and I hoped I was sneaking up on you and that it worked. So now you have some idea of where the right notes are when we're playing in the key of F. What we didn't say anything about was that you could have played all these same licks, the same phrases, the same primary phrases. You could have done the introduction since it was all on strings 5 and 8. The 4th string is the same as the 8th string in terms of name. It's just that it's an octave above, isn't it? So literally, all of these licks, all of these phrases, the intro, everything we've done could have been done on strings 4 and 5. But when we do this, it turns the harmony over. In other words, the lead note has become the harmony because it's on the top. It will sound different. But that also means this, that all the licks that you've learned so far are worth twice as much, because the minute you turn them over, because they're going to sound different, it's going to sound like a whole different phrase. And it may fool you. You actually have to practice these things, because the same lick you played on 5 and 8, when you play it in exactly the same place, on the same pedals, the same frets, and you turn it over and play on strings 4 and 5, they truly will sound like you're playing somewhere else in the scale. And that's the whole point of this thing. Go back now. Take the same phrases. Take the same little primary phrases. Take the introduction, for instance, and put it up on strings 4 and 5. And notice how neat that sounds that you've turned it over. But there again, see it for what it is. It's nothing but strings 5 and 8 upside down, and you're picking a different string group. That's true. Now, I know from experience, there's no sense in me trying to get you to learn the scale, because everybody practices scales, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, and they're purposeless, and really they're boring, because they have no meaning. They have no practical application here. So, here's what I want you to do. In this next little segment, we're still going to be playing the same notes. We're still going to be playing scales, but we're going to make up some real nice little introductions to this song. And we're going to use strings 5 and 8, that's true. We're going to use strings 4 and 5. And if you've been through the A and the B pedal portion of this thing, you're going to notice some of the scales that we used in there too. So it's going to be a combination of everything we've done so far and what you did in the past. But there again, don't just learn the notes because this is what I said play, and don't just learn the frets and the pedals and say, well, that's it. See it for what it is. It's the scales. And the only difference between scales and melody lines is that scales go all right straight in a row, and they're boring. What we're doing is mixing up the scales and playing them in all sorts of ways. They're still scales, but they're not boring. They make music, and that's what we're looking for here, is that we can play several sets of strings, but it means all the same thing. It's still scale, but it doesn't have to sound like it. Okay, let's do this. Let's look at the whole F scale just for a minute, because that's the way this little intro that I'm going to do really goes, at the whole scale. So it'll go 1 with no pedals, and the next note in the scale is 1A and B, up to 3A and B, up to 6 with the D lever, to 6 with the A pedal, up to 8A and B, up to 11 with the D lever, to 13 with the D lever. And if we wanted to go on up the scale, it would go 13A and B, 15A and B, and we could come back to 13 with no pedals and play strings 4 and 6. But we're not going to go that far. This intro will involve all these notes all the way up that scale. So if you don't know it yet, take a minute here and review those notes and make sure you know what we're doing, because that will be the intro. It won't sound like the melody to this song, but see, it will certainly sound like it fits. I'm going to use the 1A and B spot for the start. That'll be our first pickup notes. And I'm going to go to 2A and B. That's not a note in the scale, but it's a grace note, we call it. And then the band will come in on the same place that I hit 3A and B. So the pickup notes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And I'm going to leave the 8th string off of the first 2 notes and just play that one note. And then play 5 and 8 when I get there. And then I'm going to go from 3 with the A and B pedals, slide to 6 with the D lever, to 6 with the A pedal, up to 8 with the A pedal, up to 11 with the D lever, slide to 13 with the D lever, back down to 8A and B, or just 8A, maybe on and off, to 6A and on off, and the D lever. So that's the intro. Listen to it in time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now, nobody would ever guess that's a scale, but that's what it is. It's an ascending scale, and when I got to the top, I just brought it back down to somewhere in the middle. Now, we've still got 2 measures left to play. We've just played 2 measures of C, so let's play a little fill on the end. Go back to the 3rd fret with the A and B pedals. Change strings here. Play strings 5 and 6, and just rock off of the A and B and rock off to the B pedal only. And back to 1A and B, and do the same thing. And then finally, let the B pedal off too. Kind of a nice little lick, isn't it? Now we're not done yet. Quickly from there, up to 8A and B, slide to 11, to 12, to 13, because that's the lead in into Ernie when he's singing. So the end little fill goes, and that'll give us the whole intro, and it's nothing but F scale. It's beautiful. Here it is in time, the whole thing. 3, 4, 1, 2. Fill. Isn't that neat? Let's do it along with Ernie in the track. Hey, I like it. Let's do this intro in a descending type of style of an F scale. F scale really going down could start way up on 13. Let's just try it. 13 with no pedals, and I'm playing strings 4 and 6. That has nothing to do with this intro, but that's a nice place to start the scale so we can hear it. The scale goes 13, strings 4 and 6, up to 15 with the A and B pedals, and I'm playing strings 5 and 8, back to 13 A and B, 13 with the D lever, 11 with the D lever, 8 with the A and B pedal, 6 with the A pedal, and 6 with the D lever, and finally on down to 3A and B. And I could go on down to 1A and B and 1. Now we won't use that part down there, but we'll certainly come all the way down to 3A and B. Here's how the little intro goes, using nothing but those notes. But there again, gosh, I hope it doesn't sound that bad. I'm going to start the pickups on 15A and B, and I'm going to go all the way back to 13 with the D lever. So you'll see going from 15 A and B to 13 with the D lever, quickly back to 13 A and B, and then to 13 with the D lever. That's where the band will pick us up. So those 3 notes, you'll notice the cameraman missed it because it's so fast. You probably miss it because it's so fast yourself. It goes 15 A and B, back to the 13 D lever, quickly. So it's a quick little thing. We're going to try to squeeze 3 notes into 2 beats. 3, 4, 1, 2. And the band will pick us up there on 13 with the D lever. And then we're going to come all the way from there down to 6A, to 8A, to 11 with the D lever, and slide all the way down to 3A and B, to 8 with the A pedal, to 6A again like we did before, and then the D lever. So we've mixed the scale up a lot. Thank goodness, it doesn't sound so boring. Here's the whole thing, sort of in time. 3, 4, 1, 2. Long pause. So that doesn't sound anything at all like a scale, thank goodness. 3, 4, 1, 2. Band starts. Now we've still got those 2 measures of F to deal with there. So let's create a fill from right there. Come up and hit 8 with no pedals, and hit the 4th string above it, and then the pedal's down. That's good enough for a fill. Now, this goes back to the A and B pedal up from the top, part 1. Jump up and hit strings 3 and 5 right there with the pedals down. Up to 11 with no pedals, to 12, to 13, all on strings 3 and 5. That'll be the lead-in into Ernie singing. So here's the whole thing, sort of in slow motion. 3, 4, 1, 2. Fill. Oh, that could be pretty. Let's try it along with a rhythm track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, go.
You make my eyes run over.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, go.
You make my eyes.
Let's do this intro up on strings 4 and 5, and let's take in some of the things that we learned back in the first course too. We learned some scales that went out and used the 1st and 2nd string, and so forth like that. This all includes the D lever scale on strings 4 and 5, but notice how different it sounds now. This thing starts on 6 with the A pedal, and I'm going to squeeze it rather quickly. Not, but it'll be playing strings 4 and 5 first, out to 1 and 2, up to 3 and 4, back to 1 and 2, back to 4 and 5, and now we're going to hit the D lever, back to 3 with the A and the B pedals, and we're going to slide from there back to 1 with the D lever, and then we're going to hit 1A and B. This is straight F scale to 3A and B, up to 6 with the D lever, and then we're going to put a little lick on the end of that, 6 with the A pedal, and we're going to slide up to 10. This is out of the first course now, from 6A up to 10 with no pedal, back to 8, A and B pedal. So here's the whole little intro so you can get an idea of the flow. It's 3, 4, 1, 2. Pause. Now we still have a little room here on the end again, some time to fill. And it's not quite as long because we filled up a lot of the time, but we need a little lead in, leading into Ernie singing. So we're going to go from there, and we're just going to go back to from 8 A and B to 7 A and B and go and drop back to 6 with the A pedal. Kind of a strange thing there. We're going to end up on 8 A and B, back 1 fret, hit the pedals, and let them off. Sounds very odd, I know. And then slide back to 6A, and then the D lever right there on 6, and everything's through. Here it is in slow motion, the whole thing. 3, 4, 1, 2. And Ernie's in singing. Now, believe it or not, that's all F scale. I went from the 1st fret, and we used the D lever right there, used the A and B pedal right there, 3 A and B, 6 with the D lever, 6A, up to 8 A and B, and then we used that odd spot in the scale that we learned back in the first course, that 2 fret up spot, up with no pedals on 10. But that's all it is F scale. Let's try it with a rhythm track. Listen to how nice this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, go. Pause. Pause.
You make my eyes run over.
If you're not careful, it'll look like you got a weed eater in your shorts. If you haven't already queued up the rhythm track for another bridge to burn, why don't you do that? Because we're going to do this intro for it. It'd be nice to practice with the right thing. The intro is a 55-11, so it'll go from even though it's in the key of F, it'll go to a C right off. So we're going to use pickup notes that lead us through the F scale to a C. So let's start with a C. Let's go to 15 with both pedals and hit strings 4 and 5. We're going to use the 4th and 5th scale here. Then back to 13 with the A pedal. And these are quick little stomps here. And of course you could use both pedals if you want to, because you're not going to hear the 6th string. And then the band will come in when we go to 13 with the D lever. So it's, and we'll get a slight little pause there. Then we're going to go all the way down to 6 with the A pedal, up to 8 with the A pedal, might slide that, up to 11 with the D lever, slide to 13 with the D lever, back to 8 with the A pedal, and I'm going to hit the 6th string right behind it, and then back to 4 and 5, and let it off. It's a little bit off of the A and B pedal part 1 chorus, and then down to strings 5 and 6 with both pedals. So that's basically the start of the intro and the bulk of it. We've got a little fill on the end, but most of this intro is all the F scale on strings 4 and 5. So here it is in time. 3, 4, 1, 2. Now, learn that much before we go any farther, because we're going to change strings here now. Pause if you need to. And the little fill on the end, let's go back and use the 5th and the 8th string with the D lever on 6. The old pocket, sliding from 6D up to 8 with no pedals, pedals down, up to 13 with no pedals. And then the 13A, reach out and hit the 2nd string while that's ringing. Sounds pretty nice. And then hit strings 4 and 6. So this little intro takes everything, the 4th and 5th string scale, the 5th and the 8th string scale. Here's the whole thing in time and in slow motion. 3, 4, or 1, 2. Pause. Pause. That's it. It's pretty nice, but it gets us all over the guitar, doesn't it? Uses a little bit of everything we know, along with a rhythm track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
I've had to burn most every bridge. I've had to burn most every.
Find the page there that gives you the first fill, number 1. This, again, takes a little bit of the 4th and 5th string scale, but it uses some of the A and B pedal part 1. We're going to say 13 with no pedals, and we're picking strings 3 and 4, out to 1 and 2, with the A pedal down because you're going to go to it, to 4 and 5, and then to the D lever right there. So we're going to go straight down through the scale. It's descending so far. And then we're going to go down to 10 with no pedals because that's that little odd note we learned back in the first chorus. Back to 8A and B. From 10 no pedals to 8A and B. So it goes. And then we're going to go back to 6 with the D lever. And then straight up to 8 with pedal. Now this might vary here. It has a lot of ways of ending because we want ways of ending because the chords to this song go and change at the end. So it might go from 6 with the D lever up to 8 with no pedal and then down, and it would end as an F. But we don't have to end that way. We might go from 6D to the A and B on 8, and maybe off if we want it to end as a C. We want to be able to take this phrase and end it as a 1 chord or an F, or end as a 5 or a C. But C is on 8, that's true. But we need to remember something from the last chorus. Really, 6 with the A pedal could be a C7th too. So we might end this as, especially in the chorus of this song, if you look at the chord chart, you'll see that when we go to the chorus, we're going to be playing an F fill, and then we want to go to a C chord. We could just let the pedals off, or we could go back to 6A. So we have several good choices, don't we? So here's the whole fill. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it's got to go to another chord, and that'll be dictated by the song itself. So study the chord chart and find out where you want to go. All right, look up the phrase or fill number 2. It's the same lick, but it's going to start in B flat. So you go way up. We're talking way up to 18. That's high. We will break some glass up here. But it's way up on the 18th fret, same exact phrase, the 3rd and 4th, 1st and 2nd, A pedal down on 4 and 5, D lever now, back to 15 with no pedals, to 13A, back to 11D, up to 13A and B. Now, no matter when we play this thing in this song, anytime it goes into B flat fill, it's going to go to C. So let's just go from 11D to the 13A and B and stay right there on 13 and hit the D lever and let the pedals off. And that will be a C chord. You could hit 4, 5, and 6 with the B pedal in and you'll get a C7th. So the 4 chord fill or the B flat can be and that'll get us into the 5 chord. So we can play this whole song really with one premise, this scale. Same thing in B flat. It'll work as the 1 or the 4, but we can't do it in the 5, and there's one place in the song where it's a C chord fill. This is a major chord fill, and we studied this idea back in part 1. The major chord fill has to be what we're doing here, and this is all just F scale. But when we do it in the C chord, we need to make it C7th, don't we? So let's study the C7th. This is the C7th fill. 6 with the A pedal. 6A is C7th. So the same fill basically will fit, but we're going to do it from the 6th fret with the A pedal. It's strings 3 and 4, back to 1 and 2, to 4 and 5 with the A pedal. Now, we don't really want to use the D lever right there. Let's go from 6A back to 5 with no pedals, to 3A and B. That's a C7th scale. Down to 1A and B, to the D lever on 1. Hey, let's finish it going straight on down the scale, 1A and B, but play strings 5 and 6. And maybe let the A pedal off and make it C7th. And then let it off. And that'll get us back to the F. So there's a real fine D lever scale, sort of, but it's an A and B pedal scale, sort of. We've used it all. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. So before we start this song, take your time now. Learn these phrases. Learn the F one. Learn the B flat one. And end on a C. You might as well learn it that way. And as the C7th, oh, these are neat. Take your time, get them in your mind. Here's how it should sound with the intro and these fills. All you'll hear is this one idea. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
I've had to burn most every bridge
B flat.
I've crossed. It seems like every time
Back to the
I've
F.
lost. When I met you, I thought the tide
B flat.
would turn. But now you're just another bridge
F.
to burn. I'll soon light the match
C, F,
and move on. I've
to the G,
already waited
C7,
too long. Now I'm so hurt and you're
B
so
flat.
unconcerned. And our love's just another
Careful, the turnaround's coming.
burn. Sometimes one must love
B flat,
for two. And that's how it's been with me
F
and
fill.
you. Oh, I'm so hurt and you're
Here comes B flat.
so unconcerned. And our love's just another
F.
bridge to burn. I'll soon
Back to a C on the
light
end. F chord,
and move on.
to a G, C7, here comes B flat, F chord, back to G, C7, use the little fill we used on the intro as an ending. Oh, this is pretty good. Neat stuff. Let's take the fill number 2 here. This is all on just strings 5 and 8 for now. That's all. We're just learning it on 5 and 8. It should work on 4 and 5 once we learn it. Let's do this thing in parts because this is quick. This is a killer. This will sure look like you got that weed eater down there in your shorts. It's quick pedals, it's quick knees, so you have to take your time and learn this thing. Part 1 is a real quick little stomp on and off of the A. I'm going to just go ahead and use the A pedal because to me it's easier because it's so fast. It goes quickly and quickly back to 6 with the D lever. And I mean, we got to be fast. Look how fast the bar moves. So if you're not really good at this yet, and you've watched this all day, and this is the first day you've got the tape, and you want to start down here, this may give you a fit. That's the first part, and then up to 8 with the pedals to 13. Now it's written just 8 to 8A to 13A, but go ahead and go, squeeze that pedal when you get up there. So this is part 1. Now it's going to come fast. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now remember, you paid a lot of money for these pedals. Stomp everything you can get a hold of. If there's an A pedal in there, stomp it. And then part 2 goes from stomp it again and slide from 13 with the A and B to 8 with the A and B. So all of this is quick. It's a lot of pedal, it's a lot of knees, it's a lot of bar movement. And we're not done yet. The last part goes, and then there's a note missing. It ends on 6D. It depends on what chord is coming next. If we want it to be an F, we can end on 8A and B. If a C chord is coming next, we can go and end right there on 6 with the A pedal. So if you want it to be a C7th or a C as the end of the fill, use 6 with the A pedal. If you want it to be an F at the end of the fill, why don't you use 8A and B? Here it is as a B flat.
It seems like every time
Here it is as an F. Ending as F. Same one as B flat. Ending as a C. F. 6A because it's C, F. End as a G, 8 with a D lever. C. Ending as an F. B flat. Ending as a C. The turnaround. Same lick, strings 4 and 5. never know it.
been with
F.
me and oh, I'm so hurt, and you're so unconcerned, and our love's just another
F fill.
bridge to burn. I'll soon
Ended as a C.
light the match
Back down.
and move on. I've already waited much too long. Now I'm
Surprise.
so hurt, and you're so unconcerned, and our love's just another bridge to burn. And our love's
As an ending, here it is.
another bridge to burn.
That'll keep you busy for an hour or so. Well, partners, we've run clean out of time. Where does it go? Hope to see you on the A and B pedal and the F lever edition.